Hello, everyone. I believe you all can hear me now. Please kindly say hi if you are hearing me. Thank you very much for, excuse me, for being here. I just want to be sure that everybody is hearing me before we go. Um, Ife, please, I'm still waiting on the chat. Can anybody hear me? Oh, good. Great. Good afternoon. Welcome to Craft File Academy. My name is Gabriel, as many of you know, and in some couple of minutes, I'm going to be showing you the first part of the training today. Then we can continue tomorrow. All right, thank you. So we're going to be looking at Vray for Revit for architectural visualization, and I believe some of us saw the ad on Facebook, some through friends and some through WhatsApp. But I'm glad that majority of us that can make it are here today. Um, my name is Gabriel, like I've said, and I've done a couple of rendering. Uh, I have a small studio in the city of Ibadan here. Of course, we do in Lagos as well, where we actually do architectural visualization and other services as well. And here you see this image was rendered in Vray for Revit, and it's quite cool and nice. I personally like it, and one of the things I used to tell people is that there's quite a difference between visualization and just a normal 3D rendering. Anybody can open their software and you know start rendering, but there are some elements of visualization that actually make the design what it is. So we are going to be looking at those later. But for now, let everybody open their Revit, whether 2020 as I opened it here or 2019 as I'm going to be typing 2019 here. So 2019 is relatively new on this computer, so it will make sense for me to use it. You can use 2018, you can use whichever Revit you have. To get V-Ray, I've not actually activate my Revit, but we can just continue to use it as a trial version. It doesn't matter. If you go to chaosgroup.com. So here we are. Kiosk Group are the maker of Vray, and they have many other software, about two or three now, apart from Vray that they make. And we have Vray for many software, as you can see on the screen. We have Vray for 3ds Max, we have Vray for Revit, we have for SketchUp rather, we have for Rhino, we have for um, many. If I click all products, you will see that of course there is a V-Ray collection which I'm going to be talking about later, but we have for Maya, we have for Rhino, we have for Revit, of course, which is the one we are going to be using. We have for Unreal Engine, we have for Cinema 4D, we have for Modo, we have a lot, Katana, Odinin, then Nook. Of course, we have Vray for Blender, and of course, there are some standalone Vray as well. So it's quite simple to get your own Vray for Revit. Just click on Vray for Revit, and you can try it for free. When you click try for free, so you can get sign in. So if you don't have account with them, then definitely you might just need to quickly create an account. And if I sign in now, oh, you can see I can download as a business person, I can download as a student, educator, or as individual. So you can just choose the one you want. And let's say I am an educator, I will need to enter the educational institution. So if I type craft file academy, you can see you can also enter as a student as well. You can choose individual, of course. You can choose anyone and just click start my trial now. By doing that, you will be able to download the Vray for Revit. And one thing about the trial version is that you have to be online to activate your license whenever you want to use Vray for Revit. So for now, we are just going to continue. So I'm going to just run my Revit 2019. So let me just close the 2020. No. So as it is opening, if you don't have Revit, you can also get it. Okay. So you can get your Revit on autodesk.com. If I go to Autodesk, so on Autodesk.com, you can sign in as well. You can see here, you can sign in. So I'm going to sign in right now. So as I've signed in, then I can go to product. So they have different offers, and you can see Revit. So now if you are a student, then you can get software for free. What you will need to do is to just click on the software first, I guess. Now you can see all this. There is a place where they will tell you, okay, they show the price. You can do monthly subscription, you can do yearly subscription, then you can do 3-year subscription. But as a student, if you are not a student, you can download the trial. Then as a student, there is a place to get for students. So I will go, maybe I should just search for Autodesk Revit educational, education. So now if you click Autodesk education, so you'll see edu software. Now as a student, or even you can see Revit. So with Revit as a student, you can download. So as an educator as well, you can download. And I guess what's happening. So you find your way around it. I don't want to waste time on this, but you can get to download educational license, and it's for free. It has every other thing that the main license have, but it's just for students and educators. That is it. When you download it and install, you are going to see student and education license on it, so you can just find around and download it. Quite simple and easy to get. So that is just that. Now, I've opened Revit 2019, which we are going to be using. I'm going to be using the file that is readily available in Revit so that every one of us can actually, follow along and practice the same thing after the stream. So I'm going to be using architecture sample project. As you can see it here, this is architecture sample project. So I'm going to be opening it. So if you have been using 2019 and you can't find the sample project for architecture, this is what you are going to do. You are going to go to your local disk, then go to users, then choose the name of your computer, then go to app data. Then on the app data, you choose Romy. On the Romy, you will see Autodesk. Then you will see Revit. Then you see Revit 2019. So all you need to do is to delete everything that is inside this Revit 2019. So if you delete it and you open your Revit 2019 again, it's going to bring it like as if you just installed it new. So now I'm going to just open the architecture project and we are going to start. So when you open, you see the interface and it brings the Autodesk basic sample project sheet here, which shows all the elements or the renderings of the building that have been placed on the title block. So now what you need to do is you need to activate Vray first. So you will see the Vray tab after you have installed your Vray. You see Vray tab, on your Revit, and you will click enable Vray. It's going to load for a while. So we are going to need to wait for it for a while. So now it's been activated. Not really activated, it's just like you are enabling it. So now that we have it, what you need to do is you'll see all the options that we have here. We are going to be going through them one by one, and by Friday you should be confident enough to use Vray for Revit. The first option is the current view. Now when you want to render, you have to choose a view to render, and this current view is the view that it will render. Whether you open that view or not, whichever view you have here is what you are going to be using to render. So now I'm going to click on the current view and it's going to give me all the camera views that have been created. So if you don't have any camera view, definitely you are not going to see any option like this. You are only going to see 3D. But because you have created your camera, so if I come to 3D views now, you can see we have approach, which is this view. We have from yard, so which is this other view. We have the kitchen. So the kitchen is loading because it's interior, so it has more objects. Then we have the living room. Then we have the section perspective. Then we have solar analysis. You can see more a 3D view as well. But we just choose from yard for this training because I like the perspective and everything looks quite nice for me. So now only from yard I can close all the other windows. I'm going to pick from yard, which is right there, and you can see now we have from yard, and with that we can actually begin to render. It's quite simple and straightforward because after you have chosen your view, the next panel you're going to see is actually the render panel, and on the render panel we only have two options here. We have render production, then we have show or hide frame buffer. So for now I'm going to click show or hide frame buffer, and this is our frame buffer. This is actually the window that is going to be displaying everything that we are rendering. So also, under the render production, you see a little icon here which is like an arrow. If you click on it, you see render interactive and render in cloud. Interactive is what we will be using to see how all the editing and every um, thing we are creating will look before we now do the final rendering. So I'm going to click the interactive rendering now, and by clicking it, it's going to load. For the system configuration, my system configuration here, of course, this is not what I use for the main work, but yes, the system configuration here is quite simple, just a basic Core i7 7th generation and 16 gig RAM with just 2 gig dedicated NVIDIA 1050 graphics. So I believe that this is quite an easy to get a computer. I deliberately choose not to use anything that is higher than this, so that you can see that you can actually use this software on a low-end computer. So now we can see the rendering started coming out. Now, one of the things I want you to know is, if you create everything in Revit, then Vray for Revit can render Revit materials directly and everything will still look nice. So, but we can actually make the design better. We can make it look nicer and awesome, and that is where we are going to be right now. So let's look at it. This is just normal rendering, and you might want to change many things. For example, you might say, okay, I like this, but the material, I want to change it. I like this, but the lighting, I feel like I should change it a little bit. So I'm going to be quickly going to the lighting section. You can see lighting here, and I'm going to quickly tell you some things about it. But before I go there, let's go to the resolution. You can see resolution here is the output. Actually, what you render out is, the resolution. For now, you will see that we are at the 100% of 1099 by 600. So that means this is 600, and on this axis is 1099. So I can pick it and choose, this is the crop region. Is actually calculating the crop that we have here to give us the resolution. So I can say, okay, I don't want the crop region, I want 16 by 9. 16 by 9 is the normal HD resolution. So that's the aspect ratio for the HD resolution. And now it's giving me 1067 by 600. I can change it. I can change it to 1920 by 1080, which is actually a full HD. Now, when I change it, the interactive rendering is not changing. But maybe if we wait for it for a while, maybe it can change. Or if it's not changing, we can just stop and start rendering again. So it will pick the dimensions that we just gave it. Also, you'll see that everything changed now. Now this is the 50% of the 1920 by 1080. If I enlarge it, maximize it, now we have much more, and you can see how big it is now. So that's the way resolution works. Of course, I'm going to minimize this to 50, because 50% seem to be nicer. I can be working and be seeing every other thing on the screen. So right now we can change to printer as well. If I change to printer, I can choose DPI. That means if you want to print, normally Revit always give us printer or screen, and many people don't really know the difference between these two. Let me just quickly explain. The printer is when you actually have to print. So it is better if you know that, okay, I'm not going to just be viewing this image on screen, but I'll be printing it out as well. It's better to use printer, and you choose your DPI. Normally I will choose 300 DPI. Of course, the higher the DPI, the longer the render time, but let's just leave it right now on pixels, which is for the screen. So I can close that. Then I can, of course, the quality, I'll leave it as draft for now. By the time I want to do the final render, then I can increase the quality. So now for the light, you will see that we are using Vray Sun, and we did not set any Vray Sun. The way Vray Sun works in Revit is that it will take the uh, sun setting that you actually did on Revit, and it will just, adjust it graphically to fit into Vray Sun. So you don't have to set the sun extra. The way you set your sun in Revit is still the way you set it. So quite simple and straightforward. So now I'm going to just click on the sun setting, which will be from the render setup window on Revit. So you see the small kettle icon here, which is the render setup for Revit. And for the sun, you can see now we have the lighting scheme, we have exterior sun only, and I can click on the sun setting. For now, we have the spring equinox, so I can click on it, choose the still day, or I can just choose any of these and choose still. The reason I always choose still is because the still is like just a single day, and you can set the time of the day and all that. For now, you see that the location is Boston, MA, which is actually in the US. So I can decide that I don't want Boston, I want Nigeria. So now what can we do? Location, we can click on it and change it. Now, when you want to change your location, there are two ways to do that. You can use internet mapping, which requires you to have internet, of course, and your internet must be strong very well, so that if you search for a city, it's going to quickly load it and show you. Now, we have Boston there. We can choose also by default city list. Default city list is, even if you don't have internet, these are the default cities that have been loaded into Revit, and Revit will automatically pick the altitude and the longitude and also the time zone. So if I click here now, scroll down, there is no Abuja, there is no Ibadan that I am, there is only Lagos. So if I press L, right now you are going to see Lagos, Nigeria. So that's Lagos, and it's showing me the latitude and the longitude. Then of course it's showing me the time zone as well. If I click OK for it and I choose the date, now it's giving me 28th of March 2010. So I can choose today's date. So that's today's date. I can choose the time of the day. So let's say 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I can click OK. So now graphically on the interface, something changed, and you also will notice that the shadow direction, especially around here, changed as well. So now it's actually a particular place in Lagos at this time of the day, around 2 o'clock. So that's the way it's going to look. But you can actually press forward. You can do even much more better by going to location again, and instead of default city list, choose internet mapping. I can make it bigger a little bit. So now we are in Lagos right now. I can search Ibadan, for example. I'm in Ibadan, sorry if you don't want me to search for Ibadan, but I'm in Ibadan. So now it's loaded Ibadan for me, and I can, depends on your internet, you can actually find exact location of your site. So I'm trying to look at okay, Okay, I'm almost at where I am. Uh, I'm somewhere around here. So yeah, I'm somewhere around there right now. So you can locate your site, on the internet and just click OK and just OK. So the lighting will change a little bit if it has to. Then um, that's much more accurate and nice. So let's see. What if I want to change it to evening? So let's say like 6 p.m. and you see how the lighting will change dramatically. You can see now it is 6 p.m. in the evening, and of course that is around the time where we have golden hour kind of lighting and all that. And you can see it's quite simple and easy to use. Everything is just like the way you know how to do it in Revit before, so you don't have to rack your brain around anything like you will do in 3ds Max. It's quite simple, straightforward, and nice. But there's something that always happens with um, Vray. The sky is not always looking real. It will look like a kind of gradient that just looks somehow. So, what can you do to make it better? So now, if I choose the sky here, you see background here is cloudy. I'm going to come back to this, but let's go to variation. On the variation, you see that everything that we have set is nice, but you can actually set the background. Now the background, you can use custom background, but you can use Revit background. So I'm going to just use Revit, and what we have here is what is showing at the background, which makes a lot of sense. You don't have to rely on HDRI, you don't have to rely on like you do it in 3ds Max. That doesn't mean that you cannot use HDRI here, but what I'm saying is that majority of people use HDRI for the cloud purpose, and for the cloud to show in the reflection. But here we can straightly do it, and it's quite nice and simple. So if I change the sky to very few clouds, so I don't want too much clouds, then you see that Revit also will give me Vray also will give me few clouds. So it's quite really interesting. This is what I like about it. It's out of the box. You don't have to be a guru to actually use it, unlike using it in 3ds Max. There are some things you can also do for the brightness of your background. You can actually set it. Now it is 10. You can set it to 2, for example. It will be darker. You can set it to 20. It will be brighter. So you can control the background independently, and that's quite nice and cool. So, but when you want to do it, don't overdo it. Look at real life situation. This intensity that I'm giving my sky, will it work in real life? So if it will not work it will not look like that in real life, then make sure that you don't overdo it. So you can increase the sun intensity. I don't advise that you do this, but just to show you that you can increase the sun intensity. So I put it on 30 now. You can see how everything is blown up. Of course, I don't change my sun intensity except it is necessary. There are many ways to work with the exposure than to be changing the sun intensity, because in real life you are not going to go to the sun and set it. So there is a way a photographer will work under the sun, and I'm going to be showing you all those ones later. So you can set the sun size, but for sun size, yeah, for us to understand what this does, I'm going to be changing back to around 2 p.m. So this is around 2 p.m. I'm going to click on this little icon. It is called region render. You'll see like a kettle with a red rectangle on it. Let me enlarge it for you to see it well. You can see region render. It means that you can render a part. Now let's look at this part and just render it. You can draw that rectangle over there, so it will render only that part, and you can see it become clearer, and you can see the effect of the sun over here. You can see the shadow that we have. So I'm going to reduce the region right now to this, and I'm going to change the sun size to 5. Now when it says sun size, what it means is that the sun disk that you always see in the sky, how big do you want it? Now the effect is not really obvious here, so let me just change it to let me exaggerate it to like 15. Now you can see that this shadow is softer than this other shadow. So this is softer. You can see how sharp this is, but you can see how blended this one looks, like a gradient. This one is just a sharp contrast between the light and shadow. So when should you use it? Why should you use it? Well, at some particular time of the day, when you look at the shadow of that the sunlight casts, maybe like around 3-4 p.m., you will see that the shadow are a little bit softer at the edges than like around this time of the day, which is 12-1 o'clock. So that is when you can actually use it. For now, I'm going to just put it back on 2 because I don't just want to, or maybe my preferred, let me change it to my preferred, which is actually 5. So I always use 5 for major scenes. So that is that for now. So you can see that this is quite simple, straightforward, and things are beginning to look a little bit different. Of course, the background look a little bit dark, with this kind of environment. So I can bump it up, maybe it be to like 15, so or maybe to like 20 if I want. Of course, you can take a picture if you have a picture and use custom. For now, I don't have an image that I can use, so you can use a color. So you can put a red color. As you can see, things look different. So if you want to go for presentation techniques, like you want to put everything on boards and you want to use different ones, you can do that. But there are so many other better ways to actually do presentation in Revit than to just do it this way. But that's just it. Now I'm going to put it back to Revit. So I'm going to close all this for now. So we have sorted the lighting for at least this. The next thing that we need to do, which is actually where everybody will have interest, is the material. I hope you guys can hear me clearly. I hope I'm making sense. So in this particular one, we want to deal with materials, and material creation in Vray for Revit have come a long way. There was a time that it's quite difficult to create material, but this particular version of Vray makes it very easy, and I'm going to be showing you. So if you want to create material, you go to Asset Editor. When you enable the Asset Editor, it just brings a blank view like this, blank table like this, and you ask, where should I start? But you'll see that we have 3 icons. The first one is for materials. The second one is for geometry. The third one is for texture. So on this, you can either create material. If I click on it, you'll see different types of materials that we can create. We'll come back to that later. Or you can create geometry. For now, the only geometry you can create in Vray next update 1 for Revit is only 4. We can use the 4 to actually create the grass geometry and all that. We'll get to that later. But also, you can create textures. For now, we are going to stay on material. Now, we have different materials here. We have generic material, we have PBR material, we have emissive, we have two-sided. But one of the things that I've discovered is as an architect, you will not want to be going through a lot of stress in creating material. So because of that, Vray gave us material library, just exactly like you have it in Revit. So Vray came with a lot of material libraries. As you can see, we have bricks, we have car paints, we have all sorts of materials. So now for me, what matter is I have a lot of this material, and if I click on this material icon here, then you are going to see, oops, sorry, now we have two materials. This one will be that I will request for some materials, I will download some materials, but not for now. It is for version 5 that I installed the other time. Version 5 is actually coming out, which will really make a lot of sense, but for now, let's just leave it for now because it's not, the material is not even there. So I'll click on the first material, which is for the version 4, and you can see I can choose by material type. Now we have bricks, we have car paints, we have ceramics, we have concrete, and we have different materials. If I go to grand, they are going to see that we have different materials also here. So I need the grass. So if I need the grass, I will just click and drag. So now as I click on it, I drag it here, then I get the grass. So how now do I now apply it to this surface that have the grass? What we will need to do is we will need to open beside material editor here, sorry, asset editor here, we have appearance manager. So what's the work of the appearance manager? This is where you manage the appearance of everything that is in Revit. So you can manage the appearance of material, you can manage the appearance of objects, those are the geometries, or you can do some global overrides, which I'm trying to overlook now because I don't want it to confuse you. So now let's go to the material. We have the list of all the materials that are in Revit, and it's quite crazy because you need to know the name of your material so as you can change it, so that you can change it to Revit, to Vray material. So what we can do instead is we can search. I know by experience that the material that is put here, the name is grass. So I can search for grass, and you can see it is the only grass that I have here. So I can select it, and when I selected it, I have some information here, but I will not deal with those ones now. I'll just come to the side of it. You'll see V. That means you can actually change it to a Vray material. Now, for my Vray material, I only have grass, this grass that I've added. So I'll just choose that grass, and you can see now that from the render window, everything changed. Now this material changed. It's not looking like that Revit material again. So I can cancel it by clicking this X, and you can see that it turned back to Vray material. So let's pick it again. By just clicking, it will automatically pick what I've put there before. Now, one of the things you'll notice is that the scaling is quite weird. It's so small, we can't see details. So you can come to the material transforms here, make sure you select the material, and you can change the width and the height. For me, I always lock both, so I will lock them. You can see lock, and I can type 3000 for example. So the texture becomes bigger, and we can see it clearer now than before. Of course, you can play with the value until you get what you want, but I just showed you how we can quickly get what we want. Of course, we want to, let me just quickly choose like a ground, so a soil. So let's choose this soil. No, let me choose this. So now I can easily come here now. You see soil. I can change the material to soil. You can see. So you can choose different materials that you feel will make sense. So the soil that I picked seemed not to look like what I want. I can pick another one, change here as well. Soil. You can see here. This one looks like a kind of soil that I want. So whatever material you are not using, maybe you have a lot of materials here that you are not using. In this window here, you will see this little icon. It's called Purge Unused Assets. When you click it, it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to purge? I'm just going to click Purge. Then it will remove all the materials that I'm not using. From here, definitely not from here, just from the dialog, the window here. So now, we will add grass. So I want to add grass. To add the grass, I'll choose geometry, and we only have the 4. I'll choose the 4. How do we now add the grass to this object? It's still simple. Just go to that your grass, just choose the 4 now. You can see 4 here, that's the geometry. So I'll just put the 4. So that's the 4 right now. So I've reconnected. Sorry. So now the grass, like I said, is not looking like a good grass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the 4, and you'll see this little arrow here. Now this is quite important. This arrow, I can collapse it now, minimize it, and if I click on this arrow here, this is where I will be doing the editing to either the material or the geometry. You can see that. Now for here, you will see the count area is 0.06. What does that mean? If I put it on 1, that means it will be much more. So let me put it on 10. Then we have much more area to cover. You can see the grass is covering much more area now. So it's just all about the number of grass that you have. So be careful. Don't put a value that might not be necessary. So now I'm going to just put 20. I guess 20 should be okay. And you can see they are much more now. So another thing you can edit here is actually the length. So for the length, it is on 4 right now. Let me put it on 2, and let's see how it works. You can see now that it's not as high as before. Let me put it on 10 so that you see how high it's going to be. Now, because we are doing interactive rendering, be careful, because interactive rendering is using your graphics card, and if you are not careful, if you had a lot of geometry than the graphics card capacity can handle, then definitely you'll be having a hard time. Your system might not be responding and all that. So when you are adding values, just don't overdo it. So now I'm going to put it back on 2. So it seems like the 2 is quite okay, but if I'm not satisfied with it, I can still continue to edit it. Now the thickness is how thick the grass is. Actually, I'm going to leave it at default right now. I don't want to mess with all these other values. Of course, you can mess with them, how the grass tapered, how the gravity is affecting it and all that, but majority of time the default setting is always good enough. So if you want to play with it, just continue to play with the values and you are going to get it. But I don't want to use values to actually confuse you, so I don't want to play with them too much. So I think 1 actually will be better. because it seemed to be too high for me. Yeah, because it's covering the solar panel that we have on the floor here. This is quite nice and cool. Another thing you will notice is that we can still continue to edit it and all that, but if you scroll down, you will notice that the grass actually, that the four that we are using to mimic the grass geometry is actually taking the material of the soil itself. Now, that's quite serious, but we can actually separate both of them. Now, you see, under the material is turned off. If I turn it on right now, you'll see the difference. It's not going to be having that material again. Okay, it's still having it for now, but we can change it. How do we change it? Let me now add a grass material. So scroll up, add this grass material, or you can delete it as well. Yeah, so I can pick another grass material. And now, if I go back to the 4, now for the material, if I click on it, so you'll see the grass. I can give it the grass now. So the ground material now is totally different from the geometry material. So it's quite cool. I think this is the way it is in real life. The soil does not have the same material property as the grass that is growing on it. So it's always important for us to understand this. You can enable level of details. What does that mean? Even though I don't really enable it, if you enable level of details, it's going to take into consideration your environment where the grass are. So now you see that it's giving us details. So on 1000 from the start and the rate. So what it's trying to do is, when the camera is close, the details you have there will be different from when it is far, so that it will not just use all your computer capacity. So that is why we have that and all that. So now we have set the ground material, we have set the grass. I believe you can do all this now. So let's set material for the building itself. I'm not going to go through everything because it's the same process. By the time you understand how to set 2 or 3 materials, definitely you can set any other type of material that you are going to set. So with this material now, we are going to be ending this one today. So now, like I told you, the stress of looking for material, searching for the name can really be frustrating. But for the ground, that is only what I can do. But for the other part of the building, sorry, let me minimize this. I can actually use an option. This little icon here beside the search bar, you'll see pick a surface in the Revit model. Now I can't pick the surface of the topography. That's why I search for the grass. But now on the building, you can see I can choose the building, the wall, and you can see this is the name of the material that is on the wall. So it makes it easier to quickly pick material. It's just introducing this. I have some people that are actually in this live stream that have bought some of the tutorial that I've created for Vray for Revit earlier in the year. And one of the things that they can tell you is that creating material was not like this before. It was much more harder than this. You can't pick the object that will give you the material like this before, but now it's so simple. Now what I want to give it a simple material, a simple, wall paint material. We have a lot of wall paints here. I'm just going to look for a normal wall paint. So this is it. I want it to be whiter, so I can just click on the color of the diffuse. If I click on that color, because of the screen size, that's why I can't see the color. This is the color, so I want it to be whiter. So I'm just going to drag it towards the white. And one of the things that they did in this particular version as well is that if you click on this little drop down icon, is going to suggest based on where the uh, color, the pointer is on the color wheel. It's going to suggest some some hue variation, some saturation variation. So you can see that we are here and it's close to white. It's like off white, but if we go towards this side, we can see yellow. So you can see it's giving us those options. But before I even work with that, let's apply that material on the wall and see the way it looks. So I'll change and choose the wall paint. So now you can see the wall paint changed automatically. It's quite simple and straightforward. So now if I go back to that color, so choose the color again, and I come and I choose that yellow, you can see it turns to yellow. It's giving us suggestion based on the color we choose. If we like this, fine. If we don't, of course we can go back. So I'm going to go back to the white. I still want it to be a little bit whiter. And that's all. So it's quite simple, straightforward. You don't have to rack your brain around material. Of course, in 3ds Max right now, they've already also given us materials, very material like this in 3ds Max. So, but yet it's much more simpler in Revit. So I discovered that this other face have another material. You can see default wall. So I'll just pick that material as well and change it, and you can see now it's not looking black again. So let's go under various, I guess various, we have roof tiles. So I'm going to bring it here and again go to the roof, pick the roof and change it to roof tile, and you can see it changed. One of the things that can happen is you might not like the scale of the roof tile. Just select it and you can change the scale here. For me personally, whenever I want to change the scale of a texture, I always start with 3000, and if it works, fine. If it does not work, then I can begin to either reduce or increase it. And you can see, I think that 3000 looks like it makes sense for me. So the last two materials for today are going to be this panel here. I'm going to just do the same thing. One of the things I want them to do eventually is that they will give us just only one window instead of these two. If they can just give us only one window here, so that we will not be switching between one and one, but that's possible. They will look into all that. So if I click, you can see the finishes exterior. So I'm going to be using wood laminate, and I'll look for veneer. So if you notice in the if I quickly check back, you'll see that it's the wood laminate that was used there. Of course, tomorrow I'm going to be showing you how to set a proper glass material. So, but for now, let's just quickly work on this. So I'm going to choose this, and I'm going to change it to veneer. And if we look at the rendering, it is becoming somehow, because the veneer looks strange right now. If I do region rendering, it's not just looking nice at all, you can see. So of course, we can change the width. So of course, I told you I always try with 3000, and the 3000 is quite okay and nice for me. Maybe 2000. So you can play with it, but I guess the 3000 or maybe 25. So one of the things that are very, very important right now is that, yes, we have this. I think I should add a bit of glossiness to the object, and this is where things begin to take a turn, because now if I go, sorry, this object is looking really glossy, this material, but there's a way glossiness works, which I'm going to be showing you well tomorrow, is that reflection and glossiness actually depend on the angle at which you are viewing it. So if you face a material that is not mirror, if you face it head on, you might really not see the effect of the reflection. It might not be strong, but when you are looking at a target angle like this, you'll see that it's actually showing almost a mirror-like. So what I'm going to do is I'll just go to the reflection here, then I can increase the reflection. Now, the way the reflection works is if you change the color, if the color is white, if it's black, for example, like this, that means the object is not reflective at all. If it is white, like this, it is highly reflective. So anything in between determines the percentage of reflectivity. Then we have reflective glossiness, which if it is 1, it is highly glossy. You can see it here. Then if you play with it, so they have 0.75 before, so I put it on 0.8 to just add a little bit of glossiness to it, and that's all. So the next thing for me to do, let me just close this. Having a lot of windows opened is actually one of the things I don't like, but we have no choice. So I can choose these frames. So those are the mullions, and I can choose metal. For me, I'm going to be using aluminum anodized, but a darker one. So after I've done that, aluminum anodized. So majority of objects that have that material on them will change. So that's the way you continue to check them one by one and change them until you change everything. So that's all about it today. I hope it all makes sense. Your assignment, of course, you are going to be having assignments. Majority of you have my contacts, and it's going to make a lot of sense if you actually practice everything you've seen here right now and send it to me to view and make a little bit of correction over them. So that's all that it is for today. You can change the material of everything, including all these poles. This is actually in from the inside, what do they call it, the fireplace. So we are going to be working on that later. So now this is all we have for today. It's already 1:05. I think we started around 12:05 as well. So I hope it makes a lot of sense. I hope you can start playing with your Vray for Revit now. It's not as difficult as you think. Thank you. If there's any question before we go, can I get them through the chat? Okay, for the video, I'll try as much as possible to make it available. I'm not sure if it is being recorded or not. The software that I'm using for streaming should record it, but I'll see how it goes. I'll check it and make it available. All right. If there's any other question, please let me know before I finish the stream. Thank you. So to submit your assignment, I'm going to quickly give you my contact now. We have some people that are not from Nigeria, so definitely if you would chat me up, you are going to need to put L234 in front of this phone number, so I'm sharing it right now. So send your assignment to me on the WhatsApp, and I'm going to respond. I'm going to tell you, okay, what I think. And also, don't forget that it is not only this, everything that we have done now can actually be applied to your main project as well. So try also and do it. Okay, the network was breaking. It's quite simple, like I showed before. Vray for Revit. Uh, you can just go to chaosgroup.com. When you get to chaosgroup.com, you go to their products, and they have a lot of products. You see Vray for Revit, so you can choose it. They have Vray collection. So Vray collection is actually a very good one, because if you are using, for example, like me, that I'm using Vray for Revit, Vray for 3ds Max, and possibly I'll be using Vray for SketchUp later. So, and many more. So definitely you can actually buy a single license for everything. Now they have Chaos Vantage, which works like Unreal Engine. So they have it as well. They just released it now. It was called Project Lavina before, but now the name is Chaos Vantage. So they have VR Scan. VR Scan is actually some ready-made high quality material that they have created themselves for Vray, and all you just need to do is to drag and drop it into your Vray, and it will give you photorealistic results. Then cloud service, you can be rendering in the cloud as well. Everything for $700. Of course, it's annual license, but it makes a lot of sense. I know many people here as students might not be able to get this, but I'm just showing you what it is. So also they have their pricing for students as well. Um, I just want to check Vray educational license. There's somewhere. Okay, education. You can see education, Vray education collection or single licenses. You can see it there. Of course, we will be having some of their representatives coming online some of these days to actually explain to us as well. So now, if I want to buy students and educator, you can see it's just $149, which is quite cheap. It's quite cheap. Of course, I know it's not that cheap because of our economy, but $149, $100 is like how much now? Everything here is not up to 100K if you will use everything, all of them, all the Vray assets. For 1 year, I don't think it's bad. If I choose only for Vray for Revit, which is actually the topic here, I guess but don't worry, I'm going to get the people that will show you everything in Naira for us, so that you will know whether you are going to be getting it or to buy or not. Somebody bought it recently. He said he didn't buy, maybe like around 50K or so per year. So that's still nice for educational license anyway. So if you want to download Try, you can just click Try and go to download. You can choose which Vray you want, Vray for Revit. So you just choose the version that you want. Of course, even if you choose the version you want, by the time you want to install Vray, it will actually install for all the version of Revit that you have on your computer. So it's not, even if you choose anyone, because that's what I've done and that's the way it has worked for me. I only use one Vray for both 2020 and 2019. When I wanted to install, it gave me the list from 2015 to 2021, and I just picked 2020 and 2019. That's just all. So you can try it out and see the way it looks. It works really, really nice and cool. Also, starting from next year, possibly we are going to be starting some competitions and all that, and that is where buying the software is necessary, because if you buy the software and we want them to actually be part of the sponsor of competition, they will ask what is the need for them, and what is the need for them is buying the software, which is going to give them profit. So that's just all for now. Is there any other question? The Vray tab, I don't know. You know, it's them. A lot of suggestions are flying all around, and that's why also getting the paid version is going to really make sense, because you can actually give suggestion to them on the forum as well. That okay, what do you think? Why can't we just do this directly? And you know, I think the major challenge they are having, if you notice, if you use Lumion, if you use Enscape, you will notice that also you can't just open them directly when you capture a view in Revit. You actually need to open those applications. I think the major problem is the Revit, not particularly Vray. The way each software were created will determine how the plugins, because Vray is a plugin now in it, how the plugins are going to be working. But for now, this is just the only way it works. You will need to open your Revit and enable the Vray before you can use it. So it's quite like that. I wish they can actually give us enable and disable option. Actually, I prefer it that way, because the way licenses are going now is that you can enable a license and use on a computer, and let's say you are not on that computer and you still want to use your license. So if you have disabled it on that computer, then you can log into another computer entirely and use your license. So the license now, they are trying to make it floating, in the sense that you can use it on any computer so far you are not using it on another computer. So you can find yourself in the UK and you still buy your license. You bought your license in Nigeria, you can still use it in the UK, even though licenses in Nigeria are quite cheaper than in the UK. So a lot of people were like, oh, they should limit the license usage to each region as well, because I can't, it will be like a cheat for me to buy the license in Nigeria and go to UK to be using where it is much more expensive. So it's like I'm cheating on them in a way. So but that's the way it is for now. I hope I've answered the questions well. So for now, thank you very much. I have to attend to some other jobs. All right, I'm going to be ending the stream right now, and we are going to be having another one tomorrow. Thank you.